Now, the third type of audience is a saved audience. Now, remember, a saved audience is a cold audience. In other words, they've had no interaction with our business already. And it is the audience that we feel we want to target. So we determine who it is, what age group, where they're located, what they like, everything that we want, so their interests and their behaviors. We determine and we create a saved audience. Now, there are two places to create the saved audience. The first is under audiences, under saved audience. The second is in the ad account. So if you've ever created a saved audience before, you will recognize this because this is exactly what it looks like in the ad account. So let's get into creating this audience. Well, the first thing it asks for is the name. Now, I generally tell people to not name their audience until they've finished creating it, because often we're creating it and then we come up with ideas and the audience becomes a very different audience to what we originally wanted to create. So leave your naming until last. The second step here is a custom audience. So now what we can do is we can use an audience that we've already created. So if we have a look here, we've got lookalike audiences and we've got a series of other custom audiences that we've created. So what we could actually do is we could layer those audiences. We could bring them all in here and save the group as a new audience. In order to get a previously made custom audience, you just have to click in that box and they will drop down. So you can see all the audiences. You can sort them into your lookalike audiences or your custom audiences. I'm going to go through and create those. And what I can say is, so there's all our warm audiences. And what if we wanted to keep that audience as one? So we could call this all warm audiences. Now, one thing I do want to point out with a warm audience, these are people that are actively engaged on your platforms. So whether it's your Facebook or your social platforms, because they are actively engaged, I don't go through and narrow down the geographic location unless I'm giving an offer specific to a geographic location. So in other words, if I'm just sending out ads to anyone in my warm audience, I leave this out. So I make sure that I don't specify my location. However, if I had an offer that was specific to my audience who lived in Brisbane, say example, I would then go and narrow it down. So leave this, and here I'd have all Australia. I'm going to leave all the age group too, because remember, these are people that are wanting to hear from us. We don't need to narrow it down, and we can save that audience. Now, although this audience is made up of our custom audience, it is still a saved audience because we have determined who is in that audience. The same is going to go if we create an audience with a lookalike audience. So let's come through and create our lookalike audience. Now, remember when we were talking about using our lookalike audience and creating this, we had to use the whole of Australia wide when we made this lookalike audience. But just say we were a local business, so based in Brisbane, and we were trying to target people within our area. We don't want to target our lookalike audience from the whole of Australia. We do want to narrow this down. So where we've got people living in or recently in a location, we can come through to Australia and we can actually narrow that down to Brisbane. And we can even change the size of the radius that we're going to go. So this is going to show me the radius, and I can pull that all the way down to 17 kilometers, or I can really expand that to 79 kilometers. It really depends on your audience and your customer base. You're the only one who knows how far your customers are going to travel to your location. We also have the ability to change this, so people living in or recently in this location, giving you a lot of different options on how we want to target people. So I'm wanting for people living or recently in this location. You're able to select your age. So I know that my target audience is between 27 and 43, particularly women. And then we can narrow this audience even more if we wanted. So we could come down and do some detailed targeting. So we can go through and have a look at our demographics, things like our life events, relationships, what people are interested in. But because this is a lookalike audience, more often than not, I would suggest leaving it as it is. Facebook is already going to determine the things that it feels our audience has in common. So my suggestion here is really just to leave this detailed targeting blank unless you are a very niche market and you're looking for a niche audience. Then go through here, but otherwise please leave that down and allow Facebook to actually make that decision on its own. Don't forget to go to the top and name your audience. So this is and come down and save your audience. Now the third type of saved audience is a saved audience that we are going to develop and design completely for ourselves. So again, we're going to look for people in a location. So we're going to do Brisbane. And I really want a really big audience, but I really don't want anyone down in the Gold Coast to see these. So how do I make sure that I'm hitting as high as I can, but not including an area? You see here, it allows us to include, but it also allows us to exclude an area. So we could go in and exclude. So let's just say I didn't want anyone in Ipswich to see these ads. I am able to target a region and exclude a region within there. So this is a really great way of making sure that we're targeting everything that we want and not targeting areas that we don't want to. We then go in and have a look at our age as we did earlier. So looking at 27 to 43. And we're looking at women. But I really want to narrow down this audience because at the moment we've got a potential reach of 470,000 people. So we're targeting any female between the age of 27 and 43 that lives in this region. Now, we all know that that's probably not going to be your ideal target market. We need to narrow that down even more and add in a few demographics, interests, or even behaviors. So for the sake of this, I've decided I'm looking for females between the ages of 27 and 43. I want them to be mums. I want them to be animal lovers, and I want them to be active purchasers online. So we're able to create that audience easily from this detailed targeting. So we're going to go and have a look at our demographics. So we've already chosen that we want females. We've chosen the age group. We're now looking for mums. So I can come through here and I can have a look at parents, and I'm looking for all parents or new parents. So I can actually really narrow down the age group that I want. Now I think this is this is my hamster page. So I'm looking for parents who are likely to purchase a hamster for their children. So we're not going to have, they're probably not going to purchase a hamster for their less than 1-year-old. 18 to 26, they're probably not going to purchase. 3 to 5, 9 to 12, probably. So these are some good ones to be targeting. Probably not toddlers. 13 to 17, potentially, let's pull them in. So when we go and have a look at our audience now, we can see that we've brought that audience down to 41,000. For the region that I am targeting, that is still quite a high number, and I think that my targeting is still very broad. When you look at it, 27 to 43 women that have a child, I still want to narrow that down even more and have a look at people who are animal lovers. Now, if I went and put animal lovers in this box here, So if I looked for animal lovers, we've got animals. Well, let's actually be more specific. Looks like hamsters. And we can see people who are actually interested in hamsters. And if I hover over there, it's going to show me the approximate size of my audience. So we're looking at 10 million people there. But if I put it here, I'm then starting to target any parent as well as anybody who is interested in hamsters. And if I have a look here, you will see that that number would have gone up. We're not trying to increase our audience, we're trying to narrow down our audience. So what we need to do is we need to take that out and we need to narrow down our audience. So we want to come through here and we want to put hamsters in here. There we go. Now when we come up, we're going to see that narrowed it down for sure. So we're having a look at any preschool, any parent, that age group that is interested in hamsters. Now that audience is far too small. What if our audience doesn't know they need to be interested in interested in hamsters? We can have a look at our suggestions. So we've got guinea pigs, rabbits, rodents, mouse. Let's see what else. Pet store, pet food. So we're basically really giving it a bit of a broadening this a little bit to ensure that our audience is a little bigger. So let's have a look. Oh, of course, an error occurred. So let's see what happens if let's just take rabbits out and see if that helps. So we've increased our audience up to 11,000, and I'm really happy with that. But there's one more factor that I want to include in here. I need to make sure that this audience is actually going to purchase something online. So what I can do is I've said, we've narrowed all this down, we've told them what we want them interested in, we can narrow this down even further. And this is something that I really like that Facebook allows us to do. If we click on Browse and we come through to behaviors, we can see here what people's digital activities are. So we can see what they've been doing, how they've been doing with their Facebook admins. We can see purchase behavior, and this is one I really like, purchase behavior, and engaged shoppers. So I want to target people who are actively engaged shoppers. So these are people that are purchasing online. So right now I have parents. I know that of those parents, the ones that are interested in these particular interests, so guinea pigs and things, and I also want to make sure they're online purchases. So that is going to give me a very, very robust audience that we can target. What we may also want to do is we may want to exclude someone. So we've included all these people, but what if we wanted to exclude someone? So what if we wanted to exclude, I don't really know who I'd exclude at the moment. We wanted to exclude people who were into fashion accessories. Why? I don't know, but just for this exercise. So we desperately don't want anybody who is interested in fashion accessories to own a hamster. So we can exclude them from here. So this is our audience, all the things that we need them to have, but we also don't want them to have these attributes. So that's, again, brought us down all the way to 1,000. So it's really fun to play around in this, and really important that you understand the concept of layering. We really do need to narrow this audience down as much as possible, and we've got to start with the biggest audience and then narrow down our criteria to the smallest. If we had gone in and started with engaged shoppers and then put in guinea pigs and then put in parents, this would be a very, very different looking audience, and we wouldn't get the results that we would need. To make sure you always start with the biggest audience and then narrow it down accordingly. Once you have done that, go through and save. Remember, we need to name our audience exactly what it is. So we're going to have women 27 to 43 who are busy no Ipswich, their parents, pet interest, purchase online. Now I know that is a very, very long name, but at any point when I'm looking for an audience to pull in, I can see exactly what that audience is, and therefore I'm not going to accidentally have someone in this audience that shouldn't be there. Your naming conventions are ridiculously important, and it's really, really important that you get into the habit of naming things. Once you have that, go and create your saved audience. Voila, there it is. So we have custom audiences, we have a lookalike audience, and we have 3 saved audiences. And that is going to be enough for us to start looking at ads and how to use these audiences.